Dancing in your shiny new trunks, there's nowhere you can hide. I connect with the right hook, baby, and your life just flashes you by. The crowd explodes as your face hits the mat. A standing 8 count won't bring you back. Your glassy stare doesn't make me cry, but I did not force you to box me tonight. So, I'm a prize fighter, baby, 'cause you float like.
This is episode 4, The Chemistry of Life, part 2, Proteins and Nucleic Acids. And a buddy of mine, Real Big Matt, he helped edit this episode, and I'm really thankful for all his help. So let's get to it. Now, last time we framed the conversation in the context of a balanced diet. We're going to continue to do this, but we're also going to add in a bit of a construction metaphor here. So I wanted to pair proteins and nucleic acids together because the two are highly related. Now, we'll get into this relationship in greater depth in future episodes, but it deserves a cursory look in this episode. Let's get started with protein. Now, if you're a bodybuilder or weightlifter, you're probably used to eating a lot of protein. You think about Rocky Balboa drinking raw eggs from a glass. Eggs are full of protein. But what exactly is protein, and why do we need it in our diet? We'll start with what protein is made of, amino acids. Now, amino acids get their name from two chemical groups. They have what's called an amino group, NH2, and a carboxyl group, or also called an acid group, COOH. Amino plus acid, amino acid. Now, a single amino acid can also be referred to as a monopeptide. Remember, mono means one, and they are hooked together into polypeptides. But we'll get into that a bit more later. There are 22 amino acids that biological or living systems need. Now, in the world of chemistry, there's a lot more than 22 amino acids out there, so I don't think there's just 22. But in the world of biology, living things basically reduce it down to only 22 amino acids that they use. So amino acids differ in their structure and function. Specifically, they have different chemical properties by what's bonded to the central carbon molecule. This is called an R group, and it's a bit technical for what we're trying to accomplish on this website. So the bottom line, amino acids can have very different properties based on their R group. Some are hydrophobic, they hate water. Others are hydrophilic, they love water. An amino acid can have a positive charge or a negative charge, or no charge at all. Some amino acids can even have ring structures. By having vastly different chemical properties, each amino acid can be likened to a different building material. Think of certain building materials: particle board, steel, PVC, epoxies. All of these building materials have different properties that make them suitable for certain projects and not others. So the same is true for amino acids. Now, amino acids can also be further classified as being essential or non-essential. Now, human beings, we have enzymes. We can make our own non-essential amino acids from the food we eat. But there you have the essential amino acids. We can't make these ourselves, so they have to come from somewhere. The diet. You have to eat a balanced diet with the right amount of protein to get the essential amino acids that your body needs. Now, another example of essential amino acids is, if you're familiar with the weed killer Roundup, you spray Roundup on the plant and the plant dies. What's happening here? The Roundup blocks the plant's ability to make essential amino acids. The plant cannot make essential amino acids. It can't make protein. The plant dies. Sorry, the vent's going here. Hope that background noise isn't too bothersome. Anyways, amino acids are assembled into long chains called polypeptides. Now, remember in episode 2 how we said that biological systems are ordered? Well, look no further than protein. They have 4 levels of order. The simplest level of order is primary structure, where it's just a chain of amino acids, a polypeptide. Secondary structure, you start getting into simple folding. The chain of amino acids begins to fold in on itself. Hydrogen bonding is involved, and you get structures called alpha helices and beta pleated sheets. Again, a bit technical for what we're trying to do here. On top of the secondary structure is the tertiary structure, where you're getting more complex folding, such as a disulfide bridge. Again, a bit technical. And then finally, you have the fourth level of order, the quaternary structure, where you have multiple folded polypeptide chains coming together. For example here, hemoglobin, which we'll discuss a bit more, has 4 polypeptide chains, 2 alpha chains and 2 beta chains. So when you're dealing with protein, you're dealing with order on top of order on top of order. Biological systems are ordered. So why do weightlifters need so much protein in the diet? Well, eat protein, build muscle. Pretty simple. Now, human muscle is a marvel of protein engineering. Think of muscle like a series of strong cables. Now, these cables, or strands or fibers, are made of long strings of protein. A different protein, a motor protein, pulls on these strands. And this is what causes a muscle contraction. The muscle pulls the tendon pulls the bone, and that produces motion. So muscles are literally protein pulling protein. And to build stronger muscles for stronger contractions, you need a lot of protein in your diet. But protein builds a lot more than just muscle. With all those amino acids, all those different building materials, you can make a lot of different things. Going back to hemoglobin, hemoglobin is a protein that blood cells use that transports oxygen to organs of the body and picks up CO2 from those organs and carries it to the lungs where it can be exhausted. Now, on a different note, there are literally thousands of proteins that we call enzymes that allow chemical reactions to occur more readily. Literally, all of metabolism, being able to break stuff down and build stuff up into something different, is built on enzymes. And we'll get into that a lot more later. So additionally, with protein, it's very important in distinguishing cell structure and function. Now, we covered muscles with their fiber proteins and motor proteins, and blood, of course, has hemoglobin for binding oxygen. But some other examples, the rods and cone cells in your eyes have very special types of proteins to detect light. Your sense of smell, all built around different proteins that respond to different odors. So proteins are very important in determining the role that an individual cell plays in the larger context of a living organism. Okay, it's enough protein for now. Let's move on. So we're going to wrap things up here with nucleic acid. Now, nucleic acids include DNA and RNA. They're comprised of sugars, phosphates, and nitrogen bases, and they're one of the fundamental molecules of life. We're kind of glossing over the details of what constitutes a nucleic acid, because we'll get into that in a bit greater detail later. Now, inside each cell, well, inside most cells, but we'll get into that a bit later as well, is the genome. The genome is all the DNA instructions for life. The genome is contained in an organelle called the nucleus. What's an organelle? Well, we'll discuss that too a bit later. But much like the human body has large organs to do various functions, individual cells of the body have small compartments inside them called organelles, each designed to carry out a specific function or set of functions. So you can think of the nucleus as a big ball of DNA encased in a lipid bilayer. Remember those from episode 3? Okay, so here's where we get back on the construction analogy. If protein is the building material, DNA is the blueprint. Within the genome, within each cell, within each nucleus of the cell, is the instructions to build every single protein. Now, in addition to being the blueprint, the DNA can also be thought of as the production foreman. Remember how we said that certain proteins help kind of define certain cells? Well, the DNA reacts to a stimulus and basically says, okay, build this here. If you're a blood cell, the DNA is saying, okay, build hemoglobin. We're a blood cell. If you're a cell in the eyes, the DNA is saying, basically giving the work order, okay, build those proteins to pick up and react to light. Another amazing thing here is that the genetic code is conserved throughout all life. Aside from some viruses which use RNA for their genetic code, virtually all life on this planet uses DNA as the genetic code. Believe me, we'll cover this in a lot more depth in future episodes. As a bit of a geneticist by training, DNA is where I've studied the most. Now, the concept of actually eating DNA in the diet, sounds a bit weird. At least it does to me. And if you watch CSI, it may sound downright disgusting. But we eat DNA all the time. Imagine eating a carrot. The carrot is made up of a lot of cells. Now, each cell has a genome full of DNA with instructions on how to make more carrot. So when you're eating that carrot, you're eating all that carrot DNA. Don't think it goes to waste either. The human body is equipped with enzymes to take that carrot DNA, break it down into small pieces, and build it back up into human DNA. Pretty cool. Okay, so let's do a quick recap of this episode and the last. There are 4 chemical groups critical to life and critical to a balanced diet. Carbohydrates, that'd be your sugars and starches. Lipids, your triglycerides, your phospholipids, your steroids. Proteins, such as enzymes, structural proteins, monoproteins, a lot of protein. And nucleic acids, DNA and RNA. So, thank you for tuning in. And since we're talking DNA here, there's a Devil in My DNA by Less Than Jake to play me out.
When it's common sense, too much to ask.